Happy Friday, Vol Nation. Frank Rock, House of Orange TV. Tony Vitello is off to San Francisco. He'll be the manager of the San Francisco Giants. Meanwhile, in Knoxville, the head coaching search is on. It is on, and as some have said, it seems like this thing may go pretty quick as well. Hit that like, that share, that subscribe along the way. Now, obviously, we've talked about before we know who the popular candidate is out there. We know who the popular choice is. But I'll be honest with you, and there's part of me does not have a problem with them interviewing. I've said before, yeah, Josh Lander, put him in and let's rock and roll. But in the grand scheme of things, though, if you think about it, if you're Danny White, why would you not do your due diligence on this one? So interviews are happening. They've been confirmed. Names are out there. And it's a pretty good list of names that's out there for it. Of course, everybody's number one candidate that seems to make the most sense is Josh Lander. And Danny White talked in the press conference when he named Frank Anderson the interim head coach that he wanted Josh to be able to focus on the interview. And so he's definitely a candidate. There's a 5-person committee. I think I seen it was, and Todd Helton is on that committee as well. And so, you go from there. But it was confirmed today through multiple outlets. I've seen it on volquest.com. I've seen Mike Wilson, the Knoxville News Sentinel, among others. I don't know who broke it, but Kevin Schnall, Coastal Carolina's head coach, took them to the College World Series finals last year against LSU. He's a guy, if you remember, in Game 2, he got tossed in the bottom of the first inning, arguing, don't know what he said along the way, but he got tossed pretty quick in that game. He's the guy, too, in the regionals. I liked it when Kevin O'Sullivan at Florida pitched a little tantrum on the field crew and people with Coastal Carolina down there. And in the later on that day, Schnall really called him out on it. Pretty good interview where he took up for everybody who O'Sullivan had issues with. And so Kevin Schnall, let's put it this way. Josh Lander's number one for me. There's no doubt about it. Plug him in. Let's keep rolling right along with it. But I'll be honest with you. I'll be totally honest. I don't think it's going to be Josh Lander, and I don't like it, but something tells me they're going away from that. And so we'll kind of see on that. Schnall would be a good hire, though. He was an assistant for years. First year at Coastal Carolina, takes them to the College World Series finals where they lost to LSU last year. That's a guy to me I think will be a good hire. Some other names I've seen along the way mentioned, Dan Fitzgerald, coach at Kansas. And funny thing, there's kind of a connection there because if you'll remember back in 2023 when Tony Vitello had to serve a little bit of a suspension for tampering over Maui Ahuna, well, where did Maui Ahuna come from? Kansas. Who was the coach there? Fitzgerald. So there's that. But, who can sit here and say anything wrong about him if your guy was being tampered with? Vitello got suspended over it. So, there had to be something to it along the way. Seen his name mentioned. Rob Vaughn of Alabama. Interesting one. Apparently a good buddy of Tony Vitello's. He's a guy that it was said Tony Vitello was in 2017 going to bring him was trying to bring him to Knoxville with him. And then Vaughn got the head coaching job at Maryland at that point. Later on moved to Alabama. And I think you could take, he's doing a good job at Alabama. They're not elite in the conference, but they're not top of the conference by any means. Still, he's run a good program there, and that's an interesting one to me. There's actually a couple conference guys I've seen mention him, and then I saw a tweet from it's an account called College Baseball Insiders, and they're a college baseball site. Obviously, they've got 4,264 followers on Twitter, and in their list of names that they said that they have heard, Wes Johnson, Georgia's coach, was one that was mentioned as a possible interview candidate. They actually said current interview plans for Tennessee, and they listed in this order: Josh Lander, Kevin Schnall, which is Coastal Carolina's coach, Mark Wazakowski, who is Oregon's head coach, Wes Johnson, who's Georgia's head coach, Cliff Godwin, head coach at East Carolina, Eric Bakich, head coach at Clemson, and Dan McConnell, head coach at Louisville. So that's a pretty good list of names right there. So obviously Elander, again, go back to that one. Elander, I think, is everybody, for the most part, most people's top choice on that one. But in the event, and possibly even likelihood, that Danny White does go a different direction, those are some pretty good names if you can get one of them. Now, I would imagine, too, because I'd already seen first thing, this was before Vitello even got hired, at Link Jarrett from Florida State was mentioned. Saw yesterday he's gotten a raise and an extension. So some of these guys, in that season, as we know with Tennessee sports, when Tennessee has an opening, that is a stepping stone to a raise and an extension for some guys. So, all those guys on the list are mentioned, possibly interested in interviewing. Yeah, you're going to start seeing some raises and extensions come out because some of these guys are coming from good programs. I mean, again, you look at it, Coastal Carolina, it's said that Schnall, I guess, signed a new extension for $500,000. Tennessee, you got to think, is going to pay, especially if they go get a sitting head coach, they're going to pay for him. They're going to pay quite a bit more than $500,000, and I don't know that Coastal Carolina can get close to that. Now, would there be loyalty there because Schnall he did play for Coastal Carolina. Now he's their head coach, took them, to the College World Series finals last year. Would his loyalty, could it be swayed to come to Knoxville? I mean, you're looking right now, in my opinion, on this, Tennessee is, we'll just go worst case, they're a top 5 job in the country right now. Lindsey Nelson Stadium is being updated. Supposedly it's going to be finished this year. It's supposedly going to be an awesome stadium. I don't know as far as budgets go on that. That's been one of the big things with why Tony Vitello left. But, too, it's Tennessee still, it's not hurt Tennessee's recruiting at all during that time. And it's not hurt their ability to go out and be successful in the transfer portal either, because there were guys they brought in that other big schools wanted. They offered a lot with it. Tony Vitello was a big selling point for sure. But, you've got to be competitive in today's landscape in all things, NIL, with facilities, with what you're offering in general, because in the grand scheme of things, these guys who are coming in, their parents, they want them to be taken care of. And from what I've heard no complaints with how those guys were taken care of in Knoxville. And, a guy like Kevin Schnall, you hear some of his interviews. He would be a guy I think would come in and he would take care of these guys on the team, families and all. He would take care of them very well. So I'm intrigued by him as a candidate. I think is a really good candidate for the job in the event, again, that Danny White does go a different direction, which I really think is possible on this. And it's just from reading through things. Just the same as when Andrew Baggerly, the Athletic, a few weeks ago named Tony Vitello as a candidate. That was not by accident, because you do not hear college coaches, baseball, mentioned with major league jobs. That's why I said from the get-go, there's something to this. I don't know how deep or anything, and I know apparently others turned the job, or Nick Hundley turned the Giants down. But when this stuff starts getting out there, there's something to them, whether, regardless of how they end up in the end. But that's a pretty good list of candidates right now. Again, reiterating what I've seen: Josh Elander, Kevin Schnall of Coastal Carolina, Mark Wazakowski of Oregon, Wes Johnson of Georgia, who was LSU's pitching coach before, then went to Georgia. Obviously, the guy's going to know pitching if he comes in. Cliff Godwin, East Carolina. If you've seen what that program's done over the years, they've been a really good, fun program. Eric Bakich, who's done a real good job at Clemson. Dan McDonald, I might have said McConnell, or McDonald, head coach at Louisville, who's done a good job there. If Tennessee gets anybody on that list, I think you could consider that a success. Also not mentioned in that one again, is Fitzgerald from Kansas and Rob Vaughn of Alabama. We'll see. Fitzgerald would be an interesting one. I just wonder with Rob Vaughn and Wes Johnson, both them being sitting head coaches in the conference, are those realistic or not, or is that the old use Tennessee to get a race? It'll be interesting to see when it's over. But we have the one confirmed interview, Kevin Schnall of Coastal Carolina. At this point, we'll see where things go from here. I would imagine this weekend that we'll hear more candidates, more interviews coming up as well. And I think it's pretty well known Josh Elander will interview as well. Danny White, I think he pretty much confirmed that when he named Frank Anderson the interim head coach and addressed the situation. So keep an eye on that. Keep you updated on any information that comes out, obviously, along the way, and pass that along. But this is Frank, House of Orange. Have a great rest of your Friday, and I'll see you when I see you.